Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. This is part 63 of ASP.NET Core tutorial. In this video, we will discuss logging to a file in ASP.NET Core using third-party logging provider, NLog. With ASP.NET Core, we can use the following third-party logging providers. If we know how to work with one of the third-party logging providers. Working with the others is not that difficult. So let's see how to log a file using NLog. The first step is to install the NLog NuGet package. So let's flip to our Visual Studio. And then within the Solution Explorer, right-click on the project name and then select Manage NuGet Package. In the window that appears, make sure you are on the Browse tab. Make sure you are on the Browse tab. And then search for NLog. NLog.web. NLog.web.asp.NET Core. This one. NLog.web.asp.NET Core NuGet package, and then select the first options. So we are going to select this first option. And as of this recording, the latest stable version is 6.1.4. For some reason, if you want to install a previous version, you can select that from the drop-down list. Here, I want to install the latest version, so I'm going to select that. And there we go. NLog NuGet package successfully installed. During the installation, you might have noticed a warning on the error list. Error list tab complaining that it has detected unreadable code on home controller. The reason we are getting these exceptions is because on line number 31, We are throwing an exceptions deliberately. And as a result of that, the code below this line is unreachable. And that is what this warning is coming out. And that is what this warning is complaining about. We can safely ignore that warning. Our NuGet package NLog is successfully installed. We are only throwing this exception to demonstrate logging exception. So after NLog NuGet package is installed, we need to configure it. We need to configure it. For configurations information, NLog looks for a file with name nlog.config in the root project directory. So I'm going to right click on the project name. So I'm going to click on project name. Within the Solution Explorer, add. We want to add a new item. We want to add a new item. Search for a text file. Here it is. I'm going to name this text file nlog.config. nlog.config. In the interest of time, I'm going to paste the minimum configuration that is required with this configurations. With this configuration, we are basically telling NLog to write the log information to a file that is present in C demo logs folder, and the file name is nlog-all today date will be appended. Today date will be appended. If the file and folder does not exist, nlog will create them, and then we have a logging rule here. With this logging rule, we are basically enforcing the minimum level of logging that we need. We will discuss this logging rules in detail in our next video when we discuss log level setting. If you need more information about this configuration information, then please refer to NLog official documentation on their GitHub page at this URL. This is the GitHub page, NLog config XML. Okay, this one we are using it here. At runtime, at runtime, this configuration file nlog.config should be copied to the output directory. To enable that, right-click on nlog config, go to property, in the properties window, set this property copy to output directory to copy if newer. If copy if newer, it is already set. It has already there. Copy if newer. Our next step. Our next step and final step is to add NLog as one of the logging providers. At the moment, I am on ASP.NET Core official GitHub. Core official GitHub page and looking at the code in create default builder method. Where is the create default builder method? Here it is. Drag here. So here it is. So create default builder method. Here is the create default builder method. We discussed about this method. We discussed what this method does in detail in our previous video. In this series, one of things that this method does is it configures logging. It configures logging. And we have the code that does that right here. One of things that this method does is it configures logging. And we have the code that does that right here. And we have the code that does that right here. Notice it is adding console, debug, and event source as the logging providers. In addition to these three built-in logging providers, we also want to add NLog. So I'm going to copy these 5 line of code and paste them in program.cs file in our project. In our project, but we cannot paste the same coding in our program.cs file because we are using minimal hosting model. This coding is for startup.cs file, the old version. So we have to make change in this coding while pasting it in program.cs file, the minimal hosting model. Where is the program.cs file? Here it is. So below it, we have to paste here. Let me copy it first. Where is the GitHub's? Okay, copy and paste it here. So what we have to make change? Here we need to type builder dot logging dot clear providers, add configuration. Okay, we need to so here it is, this. We need to copy this and paste it here. Because we are using a minimal hosting model, so we have to make some changes in this copied coding from the GitHub page that we have copied from the GitHub page. Okay. In addition to console debug event source, we also want to add NLog as one of the logging providers. So on this variable logging, I'm going to call add NLog extension method. I'm going to press Control period to bring in the required namespace. This extension method is an NLog dot extension dot logging namespace. With all these changes in place, let's run our project. Let's run our project in debug mode. So first of all, we need to save all the changes. How to save it. And we also need to build the solution also. So go to Solution Explorer and build the solution. And build succeeded. Build started now. Right now build has started. Now the build succeeded. So now run our project in debug mode. run the project in debug mode. There we go. We have our application up and running, and we see the list of all employees. There we go. Come on. There we go. We have our application up and running, and we see the list of all employees. When we click on any of the view button, so click view button, we have an exception. We have an exception. Let's continue. Let's continue on the exception. Notice we are redirected to our custom error view. Notice we are redirected to our custom error view. And if we take a look at the debug output window, and we take a look, at the debug output window in Visual Studio, notice we have the exception log displayed here. Where it is? This one. So notice we have the exception log displayed right here. So in addition to sending this exception log to the debug output window destination, it should also be logged to a file by NLog. So if we take a look at C drive, notice within that we have go to the run. Notice within that we have the demo logs folder. Notice within that we have demo logs folder, and in this folder we have a file. So open it. In this folder we have a file with name NLog dash today's date. And if I open this with this file, size, look at the size of this. It is big enough, 96 KB. So if I open this file in Notepad, we have the exception log. Where is the exception log? Drag little bit down. Find it, search it. Where is the, okay, debug trace, info debug. Where is the error? It is too big file. I think it is here. Not this one. Drag little bit more down. Yes, it is here. So we have the exception log right here. So we have the exception log right here. At the moment, the size of this file is 3. At the moment, the size of this file is 96 KB. It is big file. Why is this so? Why is this so? Actually, the reason our log file is so large because current NLog configuration is capturing all logs from all sources, including the ASP.NET Core framework itself. At the trace debug level, that means every internal diagnostic message from Razor View, compilation, model binding, hosting, etc. is being returned to our file. These framework logs are very verbose. Which explains why your file quickly grows to hundreds of to 96 of KB instead of just a few KB. Why is this happen or why this happens? In our nlog.config, we have in our nlog config we have logger name, minimum level trace, write to all file. This tells nlog. Let me show you this one. In our nlog.config, we have this line. This tells nlog log everything from every namespace starting at trace, ASP.NET Core and Entity Framework Core, emit ASP.NET Core and Entity Framework Core emit a huge number of debug trace logs during startup and runtime. Our own application logs are mixed in our own application logs are mixed in with these, so the file size balloons. How to fix it? You need to filter what gets logged. Option 1, restrict to higher log level if you only want warning and errors. Much smaller file, we can use warn here. In place of trace, we can use warn. Step 2 would be separate Microsoft framework logs from our app log. I will show you it later. Right now we are focusing on different issue. So the size of file is 96 KB. Now let's try to navigate to a URL that does not match. Now let's try to navigate to a URL that does not match with any route in our application. Now, so before that, look at we are at here. Now Now let's try to navigate to a URL that does not match with our with any route in our application /foo/bar. So press enter. We are redirected to not found view, and this should be logged to the file. Look at the size is still same 96. And then if we open the file, we have our new log right here. So drag downward, drag it and find the new log. I'm doing it slowly, scrolling down slowly. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Not here. Where is it? Find it, find it. I think it should be little bit. So where is it? Okay, where is it? Where is it? It should be warn. Trace info, debug info, debug info, debug info, trace. Debug info, debug, trace, trace, debug info, debug, trace, trace, trace. I think here it is. Yeah, this one. Warn. Error 40 error occurred path. Not this one. It is not this one. Okay, we have to move little lower. Warn. Where is the warn info? Where it is? Come on. Yeah, it may be here. It is this one. Okay, we find it. Ultimately, we found it. So we have our new log right here. At the moment, we are only logging messages, not messages that have this severity, warning, and higher. In our next video, we will discuss how to control what is logged using log level configuration. In our next video, we will discuss how to control what is logged. How to control what is logged using log level. Using log level configuration. Okay, before proceeding further, let me tell you how to reduce the size of your log file. As you can see it here, this is huge now, 121 KB. It is huge. After navigating to foo bar. Okay, so how to reduce the size of our logging file? For that, we need to do some change here in rules. So what we need to do? What we need to do? First of all, restrict to higher log levels. We can use warn, WARN, warn. Second option, separate Microsoft Framework logs from our app logs. We can add rules to exclude or reduce verbosity for Microsoft namespace. So we can use these rules, this rule. So copy this and paste it here. And paste it here. So what we need to do now, stop the debugging and save the changes. And build the solution once again. Build succeeded. First of all, we need to remove this previous file of size 122 KB. So remove this. Now run our project in debug mode. So our project is up and running, and click view and continue and go to the log file. So now you can see the size of our log file. It is 1 KB, and if we open it, here is the error. Okay. One more thing I want to tell you, if we navigate to /foo/bar, then a new log file will be generated. Why is that? Let me show you first what I want to say. Minimize this and navigate to /foo/var. Then the size of the means new log file is generated. So first of all, we need to /foo/bar and click enter and go to it is adjusted in the same folder. Now the size of the file has become 6 KB. Let's open it. See the log. Where is it? It should be in warn. Where is it? Okay, here it is. This one. Okay. So by adapting or using this rules, this line of 3 lines, we can reduce the size of our log file. Okay. So 4 simple steps to use NLogs. So 4 simple steps to use NLog to log to your file. First, install NLog NuGet package. First, install NLog NuGet package for configuration information. NLog looks for a file with name with name nlog.config file in the root project folder. So add a file with this name. nlog.config and include the required configuration. That you are see here. At runtime, the configuration file must be copied to the bin folder. So our obvious next step is to enable copy operation. Finally, add NLog as one of the logging providers. Finally, add NLog as one of the logging providers. There are several ways to do this. We did this in program.cs file. By calling add NLog, add NLog extension method. That's it in this video. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day.